was 12 years old and turning into the new hardcore Boy Scout tribe in my town. This was not the "let's go camping this weekend and I'll bring the grill and a camper trailer" camping. This was "here's a match, a knife, and a tarp. I'll be back in 3 days. Good luck" kind of camping in the middle of the woods at 9,000 feet elevation. During this trip, I was told the scariest damn story you could have ever heard of for a 12 years old. My scout leader began this story probably around midnight as we circled the campfire. I don't know where we were exactly. I still don't know whether he thought it was actually true or not. Very doubtful. But here it is. My grandfather was a woodcutter back in the day. He and several other men would have to leave their wives and cut wood in the middle of the forest for months at a time and hunt for food and store water when they could. They were true rough mountain men. A worker's wife will travel 4 hours just to see her husband during these long months. This stunningly beautiful wife will bring several different kinds of bread and maybe some treats for the workers as well. A few of these men built a series of cabins that stretched between a mile of the forest. Well, as you may know, a man can get mighty lonely up in the forest by himself, especially if he doesn't have a woman at home waiting for him. Sam, a strange man that never talked much, but just had that different feel about him, probably because he had these black, empty-looking eyes. Sam was always eyeing this other man's wife during the visits throughout the year. One day, the wife came crying to her husband, saying that Sam had stopped her in the middle of the dirt road, demanding for certain favors that she wasn't going to do, but she broke free and ran. The husband was furious. He was going to kill Sam. The husband waited for Sam to fall asleep in one of the cabins in the woods. When he was sure he was asleep, he barricaded the door and sparked flames into the cabin, watching it ignite, grow, and consume the cabin. He could hear Sam scream from inside, blood-curdling screams that pierced through the morals and the skin of the husband. While the cabin continued to burn, the husband turned his back and left. Several days later, the other workers found the ashes of the cabin. They weren't sad though. They too were actually relieved that Sam was gone. A few months later, the same young beautiful wife was making her routinely trip to her husband in the mountains. About 3 hours into the trip, she heard footsteps behind her. When she looked back though, nothing was there. Closer and closer the footsteps would seem to be. But whenever she looked back, everything went silent. Again, she started walking. They moved into a run, then a full-out sprint along this dirt trail. A shadow of a man will flash by her side. A deep laughing echoed throughout the forest and her mind. She was screaming for help, desperate for someone to help her out in the middle of this empty forest. It was getting closer again and her legs were burning. She was slowing down, but the thing was still right by her. She knew it. Acknowledging that the worst was about to happen, she collapsed. The husband was on his way to work, following the dirt trail along the forest. Head down, daydreaming about when he will see his wife. He knew it would be soon. He tripped and fell into the dirt. As he was getting up and becoming aware of his surroundings, a triangular pattern of rock enclosed him, and the drained, blood-stained head of his wife amidst the ashes of a day-old campfire. His wife was decapitated, and the rest of her body was burnt into ash. Now enraged, he knew of only one person who could have done this, and that was Sam. Against the disbelief that Sam wasn't dead from the previous event, Sam will come for him next. The husband gathered the rest of the other 3 workers and barricaded themselves in another cabin a few miles away and waited. Night fell, and they were still waiting for this monster to appear. Soon enough, they heard rustling outside the cabin. Pounding on the door echoed the cabin, but it was too barricaded for anything to break through. Then footsteps were echoing on the roof. Minutes of silence filled the air. Complete silence. That deep, demonic laugh echoed throughout the cabin, followed by a whisper. "You can't kill something that has already died." A worker lit the lamp in the cabin in the darkness. In the opposite corner, the charred, black, burnt corpse of Sam stood up. Screams filled the cabin. sleeping on wet dirt from the blood of his co-workers, the husband moved the barricades of the door of the cabin, escaping with 3 long scratches that got through his shirt into his skin. Looking back, he saw the cabin lit up in flames for the second time. He heard the screams of the living roasting inside with the demon keeping them company. Running along the outskirts of the cabin where the makeshift tents were held, the husband searched for the emergency radio that was left inside. Finding the radio, he called and connected with a dispatcher. Crying, he demanded for help as soon as possible in the mountains. A search team found the husband lying in one of the makeshift tents, dead from the infection of scratches on his back. The husband wrote down what happened on paper. Knowing that he was going to die, he begged that nobody else must come here. Some will let you live alive. That night I slept with my pocket knife in my sleeping bag. Following the next day, we hiked around the mountains and came across 2 burned down, ancient-looking cabins only miles apart. My scout leader said, "Let me know if you see anything running through the trees, okay boys?" in a completely serious tone. I was a damn wrecked that whole hellish weekend. I hate camping.